Nigeria, we hail thee, our own their native land. Of course, to our viewers from all parts of the continent, well, thank you for joining us. Well, we will be celebrating Nigeria as the country turns 61. Now, we started the conversation in Nigeria. It's worth it. Where a Nollywood actor has questioned why DNA tests should be done in a home. We'll also treat the question of what should be done after legends pass. And of course, after the continent, we have an update for you on the R. Kelly case. Today's itch, by the way, looks at a woman's worth being tied to and defined by marriage. Well, welcome to the show. This is, of course, Pop Casa. And my guest here, how you doing? Where's the energy? Come on. Of course, I have Gabby here on my left.
Hello.
And Jenny on my right. JenniFrank. Wow,
Hi,
good to have you on the
guys.
show. How are you
You're
doing?
welcome,
I'm
Jenny.
fine. How are you? Thank
You
you.
look great.
Thank
You look African.
Thank
you.
you.
Look like
You
you're
look great
celebrating
as
Nigeria.
well. You look so good.
All right, so definitely we can't wait to get into the conversation. Once again, this is Pop Casa. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll start with Nigerian conversation. Let's get into it. You're still watching Pop Casa, and there's so much conversation we're going to have on the show today. Now, Nollywood actor Salami Rotimi, in a now viral tweet, has expressed his reservations about DNA tests and its relevance to families. I'm going to quote what he says. And he says, I honestly think DNA test is not important unless someone is dragging the child with you. If you have a child you're raising, you don't need to get a finding out about the paternity. Every child is your child. He then goes on to describe who a father is. And he says a father is someone who raised a child, not necessarily the sperm giver. Now, save yourself the heart attack and protect that child's emotions too. Nicely said, nicely said. So my question is, when do you think it's important, right? Or why do you think it's ever important for a man to get a DNA test done?
Well, for me, I think it's at the point where you start, questioning your partner's fidelity. Like, is this person faithful to me, or
The
is something
trust-
happening?
trust
Yes,
thing.
when trust gets broken, exactly.
So can that be the only instance? And how do you know? So you're saying when you start to doubt, what does your partner need to do before you think, okay, let me...
just be shady. Start behaving differently. You understand?
I feel like if you should ask your partner for a DNA test, then you don't trust your partner. So why be with someone you don't trust?
Why be with someone you don't trust? That's a nice one. That's a nice one. So there is more than, of course, one way to be a parent. Of course, we know that we need both partners to make a child. But there's also the fact that a parent might not just be someone who shares blood. There's also the story that, like he said, you've contributed to this child's life. You were part of the child's growth. Is this something that you agree on? Can we say that even if you don't share the same blood, you are the parent of that child?
Of course, a parent is someone who raises a child.
Interesting.
Definitely, a parent is someone who raises a child. You don't have to
Jenny,
be
do you agree?
related by blood.
Jenny, do you agree?
Yes, honestly, I understand from his own perspective. But then, personally, I feel like there's a difference between having your own child, like your own blood, like you can literally do anything for that child, and someone else's child. But it does not mean that, you can't look out for this child or that child. But I feel like the connection won't be that strong.
I like that. She's talking about the connection between.
I understand
So
that.
I feel like it's a conversation that we almost can't have without having someone who's been adopted. Someone's an orphan. Because then we see it in movies all the time. People who start saying, find out that those are not their parents, and they start to look for them. All of a sudden, there's this thirst to find who your real parents are. Who
Exactly.
your real
There's
mothers,
that
your real
connection
fathers.
that's missing. So that person starts
Now,
to look
what
for
of
it.
some cases where children may have been switched at birth? So I'm saying, of course, I've seen a true life film like that. So this child is switched at birth. Quite all right, you give birth to a child, right? And your child is here in the hospital, and then they happen to switch you with another child in the hospital.
Terrible mistake.
And then you've grown up with this child. The child is 18, 21. How do you, is there a right way to even pass this information?
I don't even know what to say, because I don't even know how I'm going to react to that situation.
I think you should just let sleeping dogs lie at that point, honestly. That child is your child. Forget that mistake that happened in the hospital years ago.
Okay, now I'm trying to see from a different perspective here. Obviously, you wouldn't want to hurt the child's emotion. You want to take care of and everything. But at the same time, will your partner trust you? Will he believe you that do you get this actually happened?
How
will you
true.
Exactly.
How do you prove that it was a hospital mistake to start?
You want to? How will you even know it was a hospital? Like, a lot of
But
things will come
even
at
as a
that
parent, I'm
point.
thinking if perhaps it was true that the babies were switched at birth. As a parent, I want to believe that even if you're 50, 60, your mind is saying, where's my actual child? How is he doing?
True.
Where is he?
There's that as well. There's that. And of course, the child will be asking, who then are my actual parents?
There are conversations like this that have happened over time, even on social media. We've seen it, in fact, conversations around Nadu. We know Nadu, Nigeria. And then even to people like Tanzania's Diamond Platinum, Harmonize. Now, in fact, let me point out to Diamond Platinums, because that was really, really, it got me thinking. So 2019, of course, Diamond was dating South African Zara Harsing at that point in time. And then, apparently he had a side. And then they had a relationship. But then she came out and said, you know what, after a lot of miscarriages, I want to come out and say that, this child that I finally gave birth to is yours. And he's like, you know what, no, I doubt this. So no offense, but do a test. And then she's like, okay, no problem. She does a test and yeah. That's his child. So there are instances this happens. But now let's look at a different perspective. What happens when it's a wife trying to cover the husband's shame? Now that's deep. Because let me get back to it. Because I remember being in the cab service, and then over the radio, someone called in, and that's the conversation we were having. That apparently this woman, they had problems in their marriage, and then they were trying to work on, IVF and all of that. But then the man didn't take the drugs as seriously. So first thing she pushes out a child, his mom is like, thank God it's not working, Second, third child. And then apparently none of the children were his. So she was going to get sperm from the sperm bank. And now the man gets to find out. What do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, I think she made a very wise move to start with, because she didn't go to another man. It was sperm from a sperm bank. So, I mean, she hasn't technically done anything wrong. She literally just covered
Except not tell the man, and which is like, there are trust issues there.
I feel like, they are partners, they are married, they should communicate.
Exactly. Like if she noticed that this was a problem, she should have told the man.
He's your partner. He's not a stranger. Communicate. Communication is very important in every relationship. You guys should decide on what to do. The next move.
Do you know what I feel is the strongest part of this conversation in any example we give? Trust. Whether or not you believe the child is yours, or the child eventually becomes yours, or you find out it is yours. What happens is when someone asks you for a DNA test, your mind is thinking, wait, you don't trust me? Like that's the point. So how do you build back trust when something like this happens? Everyone's like,
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say honestly, because trust can be broken and not so easily repaired like that.
Yeah, like it's so hard.
It's so hard. I can't suggest any way that can happen, honestly.
Because even if you're trying to convince the person that okay, this is how we should be, or maybe you're trying to correct your wrongs and everything, there's just something telling the person. Honestly, it's hard. It's very hard.
Now let's come from a perspective, of course, where we end this conversation, from the, being that child, being that child that finds out that, the people that have raised you are not your true parents, that child, thinking, okay, where are my real parents? Didn't they want me? Why did they let go of me? Why did they drop me? Why wasn't I accepted? And as much as we say the person that raised you is your parent, there's a part of you that wants to think, I wasn't wanted, and that's why I'm in the place that I am. What advice, I'm going to start from Gabby, what advice do you have for, someone who's struggling with that?
For me, I feel try and get as much information as you can get on your parents from the people who raised you. They might have enough information that might help you to first of all understand that it might not have been a case of you not being wanted, and that may be satisfying enough to know. So get that information. That's what I would say.
Okay, Jenny.
Okay. Honestly, I actually support what she said, and aside from that, I mean, it's possible that maybe your parents are dead and maybe someone decided to adopt you and the person did no wrong. He's just trying to help your life. So I feel I think everybody should just see life from a different perspective. Right.
But my final question, because that was such an emotional, conversation to have. My final question is, of course, now that people are, of course, more aware of these things, right? It shouldn't break the home, right? That's our conversation. Whatever the result, you're not going to find out that this is not your child and eventually give up on supporting that child.
No, I don't think that's the best thing to do. I think people should try as much as possible, as hard as it is, to move on.
It's not as easy as it sounds, because I'm trying to see it from the child's perspective, and I mean the couple's perspective. Because I mean, if I'm a guy and I have a wife that gave birth to that child, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to heal. But then, from the child's perspective, obviously, you wouldn't want to hurt the child's emotion and mental breakdown and everything.
Definitely.
So I just try to see things from different perspectives.
Right.
If I was a person here, how am I going to react?
All right, so that's the most we can take on a Nigerian conversation. It's a very, conversation. I think it's a conversation that everyone should have, And as we've agreed, to be honest, it's important that you keep the family and the love going for the child's sake, at least. Well, that's our Nigerian conversation. When we go on a quick break, we'll come back. We'll have an African conversation. You don't want to miss this one. It's about legends. Okay, this is still Popcasa on New Central Television. Of course, thank you for still joining us, for still being with us. Well, now we go to our African conversation like we always do. So now this one might get you thinking. So entertainment mogul Arnold Asamoah Badoa is calling on President Akufo-Addo, of course, that's of Ghana, to do more than just pay tribute to legendary musicians who pass. Now this follows the death of Ghanaian high life legend Nana Ambadu. Now this is interesting, right? So now I read his post, and then he talked about it's quite all right. The president, of course, expressed, his grief, his, sadness and all of that, and love, condolences to the family. But then he also put out some suggestions of what could possibly be done. We've seen in international, scene where people have like statues put up, a museum, something that, leaves back this legacy. What do you guys think?
Well, I guess his, even some other singers have come out to say we could do more than just giving good words. Let's, create museums in their name and all of that. I don't really know what to say about this, honestly, because I feel we have so many legends, how many people are we going to be able to do these things for?
Exactly.
That's a good question. Jenny?
Because I was thinking of, okay, maybe we should make out a day to honor this particular legend. But I mean, we have a whole lot.
A lot.
So are we going to each day we're going to, I understand that they are legends, they are very good at what they do. And honestly, we really appreciate them, but.
So let me give some examples, because I get your point now. I didn't think of this honestly, but let's look at notable people like Fela and Nicola Pokuti. Now, this is a name that honestly, for how many years, for many decades after his passing, the legacy still lives on. Now we see not only, because of the impact of his music, we've seen the trend, from his children and how that has influenced other musicians. We've seen Burna Boy and the Afrobeat sound that is being celebrated all across the globe at this point in time. Someone like that now. So I think my question is, there's a way we can, share between, those who we can afford to give the honor to and those who we can't.
I like the way you said those we can afford. How do you do that? That's the thing.
And aside from it, I feel like unconsciously we honor them without even knowing.
Exactly. Like without building those edifices.
Okay, so
anything.
how have we honored these people?
Look at Fela. See, who doesn't know Fela? I mean, if you give birth to a child today.
Okay, I'm going to remind you. I'm going to remind you of the case of Rachel Oniga that died recently, and of course Sound Sultan as well. So I mean, what do you think we could have done in this case? Or in these cases?
So I think to a certain degree, right? If you're so important that the president, there are people that pass that are important, but the president takes up time to put out a statement, then it means that you're important to a degree.
To the country.
I mean, let's be honest. White people have such a culture of doing to this from the smallest to the biggest things. It might not be a museum. It might be a course. It can be, why can't we study Afrobeats in courses? To honor Fela.
There are many little ways.
There are small ways. A library. Something as small as putting out a museum, a studio, like a studio where any young person that wants to go into music can just go into and see written right there on the studio walls, dedicated to Fela and Anikulapo from
to be honest, I think
or something.
I think it's beyond, just asking the government to do something more. I feel like individuals, the entire public can begin to consider this and think of ways on their own to, make these people get more honor that they actually deserve.
I feel like, our biggest fear, and I can get where he's coming from, the journalist from Ghana. Do you know where it's coming from? It's coming from the place that, sometimes word of mouth is not enough. Do you get?
Yeah.
Word of mouth is not enough, because over time we say we're celebrating them. Of course, people say, oh, they inspired me. But over time, as years pass by, guess what? They become less relevant. But than the fact that there's a structure that we can all go to at certain points or a day, nothing as small as, okay, Sound Sultan Day. and say, day where we look back and appreciate, someone who, battled this and, irrespective of this, was supported to basketball, supported to
definitely
the
to
music
many
scene.
causes, honestly.
So I think it's something that we can all think about, if it's by family, if it's by community, if it's by state, or globally.
Even the government.
As a government, it's something that we should. I like that we all agree on this.
Yes.
But now the real question is how we're going to,
we'll
share
figure
between
it out.
who we can afford. We will figure it out.
We'll figure it
Well,
out.
of course, that's our African conversation. We hope that, of course, this sparks you conversations in your home, and you think about, who are those people that are notable and should be recognized. Well, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we have international, and then we have an itch. And for the first time, Gabby's going to be doing this. Of course, Gabby's right here. This is still Pop Casa. We'll be right back.
Okay, so now this is international story, and we're moving straight into it. After 2 days of deliberation, a jury reached verdict, and American singer R. Kelly was found guilty of sexually abusing women, boys and girls for decades. Kelly, who gave the world hit songs like I Believe I Can Fly, Step in the Name of Love, Sign of a Victory, was convicted of all 9 counts, including racketeering and violations of the Mann Act. That prohibits the transport of any woman or girl across state lines for any immoral purpose. R. Kelly could be spending the rest of his life in prison. His lawyer has said they would appeal. He has faced accusations for more than 2 decades. People have said the industry turned a blind eye to R. Kelly's crimes for years. Now, this is the part where I have to ask you guys the question, do you agree? I mean, for many years of his career, there have been rumors, there have been accusations. Do you really agree that the public turned blind eye to all these accusations for many years?
Can lady go first? Can Jenny go first?
Please go first, Jenny.
Okay, I wouldn't say, I feel like each and every one of us, we have a part to play in our lives. So I wouldn't really just put that on the public, like you mentioned, because I mean, the governments, they know that this is what is happening. It's not like they don't see or they don't hear, but they decided that they don't want to retaliate to this. So at the same time, I feel like, I mean, some people don't even believe that he can do this kind of thing. So some people, I mean, like, this is my role model. He can't do this, he can't do that. But I mean, in every rumor, there should be an atom of truth. So I feel like they should have looked into it. They had
ignored it for a long time. Sam, do you have anything to say about that?
I kind of agree, because I would say that his public, image, had, kind of blinded the eyes of a lot of people. But then, like she said, it's important that when you hear these rumors, you look into it. Because let's not lie, we've had instances where people would come out and, falsely put out information. So it's a very, two-way kind of conversation, because you need to be sure, is this a rumor, is this true? But come on, over 2 decades.
That's a long time.
It's enough time,
Yes, and there were so many different people at that time that kept on coming out to say, this has happened and that has happened. But I'll move on. So, do you think his celebrity status had protected him all these years?
Yes.
Of course.
Of course, yes.
Of course, I think so myself.
Yes, because, I mean, he's way up there. I mean, a lot of people look up to him and stuff like that. So a lot of people want to believe that he did this kind of thing. A lot of people want to cover up for him because of where he is. So I feel like he actually influenced that.
It did, to be honest. I think we're all going to agree that it did.
Okay,
from the smallest thing, like, the fact that he's a public eye,
Yes.
and people like him.
The public, exactly.
People like
look
him.
at those songs.
Look at the songs that you said. What? I Believe I Can Fly. You want to tell me that someone who sang I Believe I Can Fly did
Exactly,
did that?
could do something like that.
Sign of a victory?
So now, 11 accusers testified against him, 9 women and 2 men. If his conviction is upheld, these victims, have they gotten enough justice?
I mean, I hope that, with this action, with this sentence, that they feel some form of, relief, that, the person who had hurt them, the person who had, put them through what they had gone through, and made them feel less than themselves, because of the abuse that they went through. I hope that they feel a little bit of relief that,
exactly.
now,
we hope
the
it
law
does
has
something
been served.
to help.
But then at the end of the day, I feel like, to be honest, we're human beings, and then what's important is, your heart, your state of your heart. Just forgive personally and let it go. If not, like, there's never enough justice to be served. You know what I mean? Like someone hurts you in some way, you think they deserve to be hurt that scene exactly. But to be honest, it's a state of the heart thing. And I think, well, it's a move. It's a step towards in the right direction. Step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction. And we even talk about Nigeria with the case with Baba Ijesha that we all know about. So would you say the same thing? Do you think that justice was enough?
I don't, Jenny.
Why did you push that to me? Okay. So I don't know, like he said, like justice is never enough, but I feel like
generally though, I think it's a good thing that despite the fact that there's celebrity status for these people.
I'm actually happy that a lot of celebrities came out to support the young lady. That is a very big step, because normally a lot of them will just keep quiet about it. Now, aside from that, I mean, our government, he was released, yeah?
It's a sketchy thing because we don't exactly know where
this is headed.
Exactly. So, and that's another thing about this country. Like, a lot of things are happening and we don't even know what is happening, like, behind closed doors. They are just, like, just tell us what happened. Is he going to jail? Is this going to happen?
Exactly. We want to know the truth about everything.
You know what I think? I think it's so important that, these things happen and then it's open to the public, because why it's so important is the next victim. What happens to someone who is going through that currently as we're speaking.
Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that up. I like the fact that in all of this, despite the celebrity status, people are bringing it to the public for people to know and for people to beware. And I think it's the beginning. And we hope that all these victims get as much justice as is required in all of these cases. So this is where we go on a break. We'll be right back on Popcaster. Don't go anywhere. All right, now welcome back. We're moving to talk about the itch. Now, former Big Brother Nigeria housemate Uriel Oputa posted about the pressures on women to get married. She said it's so sad that no matter what women achieve in life, it's nothing unless you are married. I mean, I post a food video which is helping thousands of people and you still comment, go and marry. What if I don't marry? Does that make me a witch? I think it's terrible because pressures like this push women to settle for less in their partners and in marriage. You would often find highly intelligent, talented, and successful women settling for less quality spouses and less than ideal marriages because they eventually give into that pressure. I think marriage is a lifetime journey, and if a woman wants to get married, there shouldn't be so much pressure. Society should let the woman take her time to find and be found by her spouse, the one she eventually chooses to marry, and let her contribution to society or personal achievement not be measured by her marital status. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I support her, like, I really support every single thing she said, because I mean, our society now, they just say, oh, get married, you're too old, you should get married. I mean, you're 26 already, you should get married and everything. I mean, those kind of things can actually make a woman settle for less, settle for somebody he or she can't even live with. Like, I mean...
You know my biggest question? Like, who defines the age for marriage? Like, who says this is the age you should get married, to be honest? And I think it's sad, and I'm a man, and I think it's sad how a lot of times, it seems like, oh, from a young age, they train women, for marriage. Oh, from the smallest jokes, better learn how to cook now for your husband.
For your husband,
you're not hard working, your husband is not going to like it. I'm like, yo, a lot of times, like, I'm a guy, and I don't think we don't get that from our side. Say, oh, you better be hardworking for your wife.
Exactly, the pressure is not that so much. But I think, why is society choosing women to put this pressure on? Because
it's not just...
Are you the ones proposing?
No, but yeah, exactly. I mean, how am I supposed to be... someone is supposed to find me. Somebody's son is supposed to find me.
Hey, come on.
Somebody's son is supposed to find me. So, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to, as much as I can, make myself be visible. That's the best I can do. I mean, I
look how pretty like this.
Thank you. Just be visible and let everybody see me.
I think our parents, they also have a role to, like, a very huge... I mean, African parents are like, before 22, you should get married, though.
22?
And then, some parents are like that. There are lots of 22 girls are married now.
What are they?
It's their choice. I'm not against them. If that's what they really want, it's fine. My problem is just don't put pressure on that lady to get married at that age.
I think the biggest problem is the fact that, you know, how it daunts on these women. Because they go in, they go back home, and, you know, and there's this pressure. And it moves into other things like, you know, depression, sadness, because of these emotions. And you're thinking, you know, does it mean that Bisola is better than I am?
Exactly.
Does it mean
she got married first and all of that. So thank you so much.
At that point,
I mean,
she can settle. She can at least settle for less.
And then we wonder why divorce rate is going up.
Thank you so much. Your contributions are absolutely amazing. We've talked about so many interesting issues. We'll be back again next week on Popcasa. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at News Central TV. Bye-bye.